Hello and welcome. Today is 21 of August 2020 and I continue about the miracles of God. Well, my experience I had with God, maybe it's just interesting for you to hear about it. I'm not so good in doing researches and all the people who fighting now worldwide, also here in Germany, about this corona. They are so good. They writing books and they doing such a good work. And well, I'm not so good in these things. I can tell you some stories that maybe give you some hope. And it is somehow that there's not a real proof for my stories. It is somehow, well, you can believe it or maybe not. It's up to you. But I promise you that I wouldn't tell you lies here to cheat you or to somehow impress you. I don't have to impress anybody, because I'm thankful that I'm alive. That I'm now 52 now. I had a hard life. I had a lot of trouble, and not only the last 4 years when they targeted me very hard. Well, it is maybe the whole life that this somehow was not very well, but now I got the reward for my work. I see now that my films about this electronic torture somehow reached the world. Well, some months ago I saw women dancing in, I don't know the country, it was in Latin America. It was maybe in Chile, or was it in Argentina? Mm, I'm not so sure anymore. It was they were dancing in a formation, and then they were shouting they were dancing. It was about sexual violence. They have a lot of problems, women in Latin America. The men not treat them right, and they were shouting like, "The raper are you," and they were dancing in a formation. And I thought, well, if this woman can do such a dance in a open, in a public, they must have learned how to protect. Well, normally they would torture them to death. Normally they would do this because they don't want that women in Latin America rise up. They normally they would torture them. And I thought, well, if they can do such a dance, there were maybe 20, 50, I don't know, a lot of women in a on a square, on a, I don't know, it was a public open place. And I said, well, that somehow I felt somehow this videos reached the people now, that they learned how to protect themselves from this evil weapon. And I thought, well, this is somehow the reward, to see this women happy again, that they have the power to resist this evil violence worldwide. It's not only Latin America. And I thought, well, that was maybe of your videos, but because I know that this torture is worldwide now. The problem is that people can't talk about it because they don't want to go into psychiatry, because all this psychiatrists, they waiting for these people that they begin to speak, and then they say, you are paranoid, you are schizophrenia, so well, we better keep you here. So this is also the experience I did. Well, one day they catch me, and I lied, I lied somehow. I escaped from them, but this is well, this is the evil weapon, and this was my main goal. after they sent me back from Donbass, and maybe it was God who sent me back, and he said, well, there's a lot of things to do, I have another plan with you. You know, you studied and you know how to speak out complicated things in easy words that the people understand it. So I learned it when I was a student during my study, and well, I never had success with my study. Well, people say I'm a loser. I don't have a car. I have only a bike, and I have not much. I'm happy when I have enough money to buy my next shoes. Yeah, that's true. I'm poor on earth, but in heaven I have a kingdom, like Jesus said. It's such a great job to help the people, and the reward is that I see people happy now again. No matter if they would kill me, I'm not hanging on my life so much anymore. Because I know my job was successful, and well, I can go, and I know I have a kingdom in heaven. In heaven I'm rich, and it doesn't matter to me if I'm poor here on earth. And when I said to myself, maybe you are interested how it looks when the Spirit comes to you. Well, I had this experience all my life. I never thought that this is special or somehow that I'm somehow privileged. I didn't think this. I thought everybody can be touched by the Spirit, but I found out maybe this is not the case. There are so many people here in darkness, and well, I ask the Lord, well, is this true that maybe some other people never saw what I saw, this light? And well, he said, yes, well, so tell them about the light, and I will. I show you some pictures. I was a boy. When the Spirit reached you, looks like that. Here I'm maybe 3. I'm 3 years old. It's a total excitement. It is like a kiss. You get a touch with your mind, or with your soul, or with your soul body. It is like a kiss, but with your whole ghost, with your whole soul. So here I'm look up, and there's a light. You see this expression in this face sometimes when people die. When they go their last way, going up to heaven. Sometimes they looking like this. Then when they see the light, they go into the light with their soul. But I saw the light from the very last moment of my life. Well, I think it started when I was inside my mother, so she had trouble with me, and I was asking for help, and I saw the light already before I was born. When I was born, well, I was quite a cute boy. You see here, I think I'm 3 or 4, maybe 4. I'm just looking for something what is there. I was interested in everything, and I think I can't remember this moment, but it is, I want to grab something, or maybe like this. I was quite cute, yeah. When I think, well, if I would have such a boy, I would be proud. And there was my grandparents I adore a lot. Here's Christmas. You see me here. You see me here watching my grandmother. She was half a Jew. Her father was a Jew, a Jewish salesman. I don't know, pots, brushes. They went from village to village, and it was in the time of the November Revolution in the November 1918. Her mother was alone. Her husband was in the French War, and it was in this revolution time she was produced, made. I don't know the exact word in English. If you count the August of 1919 back 9 months, you come exactly to November 1918. So her mother decided in this revolution time, well, it's maybe time to make a change, and well, the Jewish salesmen, they were quite you know, how you say, maybe not attractive, but they had a lot of charm, you know, they want to sell things and they had a lot of charm, and so maybe her mother couldn't resist, and so she became a Jewish Kuckuck child, and that saved her from the Holocaust. And her husband, my grandfather, was a professional soldier in the Wehrmacht, so when he married her, they were 19, they were quite young. So so nobody asked her what is about your black hairs and why you're looking Jewish and so. But I adored her. I could watch her for hours. Here you see me, here in the corner here. You see me watching her. And well, my grandparents, they had a jukebox. And a music box, you know, it was all these records, this magic box for me, and I was looking to this box. I was not able to put a record on a table here, on the record table, but it was so fascinating for me, all this music. I was always interested in music, and there was one record that was fascinating me, that was the music of Anna Tefka. It is a musical, a Broadway musical from 1964, and well, someday my grandparents visited her daughter in Hamburg, and then they saw this musical of Anna Tefka in Hamburg. You know, in Hamburg there's a lot of theaters and you know, opera and all this, and well, and they said, well, it was so good that they bought the record, and well, he also cried when he heard it. Yeah. So he was not a Nazi. He saw all the things in this war, what they did with the Jews, and he knew also that his wife was a half Jew. I think he knew it, and he thought maybe, well, this village is so. It is a fictional village. It is a story about a milkman, and it's placed in Russia, and then they are the life about the dreams and all this matters in this Jewish village, and yeah, that they are concerned. Well, I have to look that my daughter gets a good husband, and I thought, well, this is quite wise, that they looking for a good husband, that his daughter will be happy, and it is also funny, this marriage agent, I think her name was Jente. I'm sorry. Well, I heard this records so many hours, and I never knew that this is the music, that this music has something to do with me. I didn't know that the grandfather of my father was a Jew who lived in Hamburg. In Hamburg there was a big Jewish community. They had a school of Torah, they had a synagogue, and well, in 1938 the Nazis, they burned all down and brought all the Jews to Poland, to this death camps, Treblinka, Auschwitz, so on. And I heard this music, and it was so so much of fun. You know, when this milkman, he dreams about to be a rich man when I was a rich man. And then he imitated all this. He dreamed about a big farm, and then he made all these noises of this. Well, you know, I loved animals, and hearing that a man makes like a like a like a duck, week, quack, kikeriki, like a rooster, and well, I thought, well, this music is so amazing, and so full of joy. Yeah, I think I have to change the subject. You know, my father, I didn't know that he was not my real father, but when he heard music, he was quite a fan of Beethoven, and then every time he heard Beethoven, sometimes he looked like Beethoven himself, and so he looked, you know, that was the fifth symphony of Beethoven, and it was sometimes so dark when he heard this music, and that record of Anatevka. That was the first time that I realized, well, there's also music for joy, for fun, to express feelings. Well, okay, Beethoven expressed also his feelings, but maybe they were not always so, you know, sometimes it was quite heavy and dark, this dramatic feelings of his music I remembered. Well, okay, my father changed later to Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, and that was quite good, because this music was more helpful, and there was more light in this music than in the music of Beethoven. But well, this record Anatevka, I could hear for hours. It was so impressive. Well, I was many times at my grandfather in the south of Germany in Christmas. You know, here you see this Christmas tree, and I could also watch in a candle for hours. Here you see me watching in the candle. I watched this candle so many times. It was so fascinating to see this candle, and maybe other boys found this boring. Not me. I watched this always for a long time. Well, when I was older, I looked very, I looked like a dreamer. I was many time of my life on the other side. I was not here. I was somewhere, I don't know where. It was so beautiful there that I sometimes decided better to go there. Not only in my dreams, also when I was awake. And when I went to elementary school, it brought me into trouble then, because all these letters and these numbers, it bothered me. It was so boring, and I found it more attractive to watch out of the window. And the first 2 or 3 years at my school teacher, she wrote always this sentence, he watched too much outside the window, he must learn to concentrate, to follow the lessons, and he must learn to be quiet. You know, I was also kind of hyperactive. Well, I'm glad that I went to school in 75. There was no Ritalin. Maybe 20 years later they would pumped up me with this shit, with Ritalin to dump me down. But in the 70s it was not known, so it was quite I was quite annoying. Also for my classmates, that they said, well, he makes too much noises and he disturbing us. And Well, and I thought, well, when they start to hated me, well, that I didn't want to be hated, so I changed a little bit my behavior. But I was dreaming a lot, and I thought, well, maybe these birds, and why can't I not be this bird flying in the sky and be free? And will I ever be free again, coming out here of this classroom? Just 45 minutes in Germany. A school hour is 45 minutes. It was like torture to sit still 45 minutes, and I dreamed and I didn't follow the lesson, and it was so difficult for me to learning writing. Reading was not so, but writing, because my motoric facilities were not good. Yeah, but somehow I made it. Well, my teacher, she did a lot for me. She did a lot. She saw that I was in trouble, that I had a problem, and she could have said, well, this boy, you can't stand here in my class. So, but she didn't. She worked hard, so she made also conferences, and it was somehow, yeah, hurting to hear all the things that the other children said. Well, yeah, he's so annoying, and he I can't follow the lesson when he make all these noises, and well, it was hurting me. But I felt it was for my best. She wanted my best, and well, she made a great job. Unfortunately, she's not here anymore. She died already. Well, okay. To tell you somehow, continuing with this, I made a German video, and I was talking about Cuba, about the idea that everybody is equal, that we have no exploitation here on Earth anymore, no slavery. So I came in contact with these ideas of Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and I read also the Capital and some other writings of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, and I decided, well, that they are right, that there are two classes that are fighting against each other, the working class and the owner of the factories, and that there's no, that there must be a fight. And well, later I found out that the idea that the middle class has own money and own factories and had a proper Protestant nations, that was so disgusting for the Pope that he decided to create an ideology to destroy the middle class. It's still going on to that day. He wrote the Communist Manifest, and this idea of a communist society, that everybody is equal. It was taken from an English philosopher. His name was Moore. He was executed because of high treason. He was a traitor of England, so they executed him. But he had this idea of utopia, and later they developed this idea with the work of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels to make an ideology for the poor, that they get hope, and also for the Latin America, that after they whipped out all the Protestants in Latin America, there was a cruel inquisition all over Latin America, and then to give them hope, they created this Cuban Revolution. It is quite amazing, with Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. They met in Mexico, and then they went with this ship called Granma. It was a small yacht, so they went to Cuba and they made a revolution, and then this Batista regime that was backed by the US, and in this Havana town there was a lot of Chicago mafia, casinos, and I thought, well, then it was a good cleaning that this place got clean and socialist society, and I was member of German Communist Party, DKP, and but not for a long time, maybe for 3 years. Well, I found out that they are not democratic. They tell that they are democratic, but they are not. All decisions, real decisions, are made in a upper circle, and this discussion on the floor, on the, it's more fake discussion. They decided already when they meet in their circles, and it was also that East Berlin, the East German regime, was leading this Communist Party in Germany. Well, but in that time, in 1995, I didn't know. I was in the middle of my 20s, and well, I thought it is a good idea to help Cuba, because when this change was, all the Russian ship disappeared, so they had a deal. They selling Russia sugar. They have a lot of sugar in Cuba. This not the white sugar, the brown sugar. And they got machines and all this higher developed things from Russia. They don't had a industry in Cuba. It was an agriculture country, and now they change into tourism. But before, in the socialist, in the communist world, they had nothing more than this sugar, and they didn't want that they develop their own industry. They had a small industry, but it was not that they have a car factory or something like that, or electricity. They had electricity. They had a small, they had everything. They had water. They had electricity. And they had a good medical system that was the best, and it was for free. And so all these Latin American countries, people looking to Cuba, that was a paradise. And yeah, this Morales, when he was sick, the president of Bolivia, he went to Cuba for a cure, and Fidel Castro visited him, and well, they made a lot of show. Well, I when I talk about Fidel Castro, I made also, when I was on Cuba, I made a picture of him. That is the day of, I think that was Julio 26. This is the 26th of July, when they stormed with the Liberation Army. So that is a day in Cuba when they celebrate. Or maybe it was marching in Havana, 59. In 59 Fidel Castro marched into Havana. Well, I don't know exactly what was the reason for this celebration. And I show you the place I was. This was in Matanzas, small. It was an old villa, Spanish villa, from a rich Spanish person, maybe a owner of a plantage, maybe. So we were there, and there were black, women. They made the kitchen. Yeah, you can't see her because she's black and it is dark. You see only a little bit. You can't see her face. Well, and they had a lot of black women people. They make the kitchen work, also in the hotels in Baradeo. And well, it is true, there's a difference between the Spanish people and the black people in Cuba. They are not equal. Normally the black people, they have not the good jobs. They're making more this plantage work and this household work, but there are also some blacks in higher positions, but not so much. So there's a difference between Spanish and black people in Cuba, and that was quite amazing for us. I remember one day we had a discussion. They come this middle politicians of Matanzas. They came into our house in the evening, and there was one woman from the anarchy wing of Germany, from the Antifa. That was the old time when the Antifa was good. In the 90s, the Antifa was good. They defending people from this fascist brutality. They had in the 90s there was a lot of neo-Nazi brutality. They burned the houses of the refugees. I mean real refugees, not this people they bring in here for fun. Yeah, you know that there were real refugees, and so they burned them. And there was an Antifa that tried to defend this. You know, yeah. I mean, there were other times in the 90s. The Antifa, they were the good. You know, and this woman was from the Antifa, and she asked this communist leader from Matanzas, well, why is it that the black people are so poor? I thought you have a socialism here. Why is it? And then this communist answered in Spanish, but there was a translation. Well, you know, the black people, they are lazy. They like to sleep long. They don't want to wake up early. And we said, what? What are you talking about? What are you saying us? I thought you have a socialist country here. How can you talk like this? But it was so amazing for us, and we realized that there's a racism from this leading, you know, this leading layer. It's maybe 10-15%, like in all communist country. There's a leading society. They have all privileges. They go into the storehouses. They take what they want, and then the poorer people, they say, well, we have a shortage. We are sorry, but this communists, they go into the store, take what they need for their families, and then the rest is for the people. So, and there was so much corruption, and this building place I worked, there was so much shortage. There were days we are just hanging around because there was no steel anymore. So if there's no steel, you can't continue. It was a medico centro medico. So it was for this for the part of this Matanzas. It was this house is for doctors, that they cover up the medical need of this quarter of Matanzas. So here's another picture. It was in the, I don't know, it was in the summer 95, in this special period when they had a lot of problems. Here you see all these Germans standing here. I think it was in the morning when they were discussing, okay, what is today, what we will do today. I think it was a briefing in the morning. Well, and you see me here on the left. That is when the work was finished. We had bikes. We went back to our house, and here you see me working. It was so hot, and it was too hot for me. I couldn't live there for longer. I was there 6 weeks, but it was too hot. What I'm doing here, well, they have nails, and I had to recycle the nails with a hammer to bring them into a line again. You know, they don't have the iron things. All industrial goods are short in Cuba, so I had to recycle this nails. And this is a typical communist working. One is working, the other two are watching me working. You know, this girl is from East Berlin, and this guy is from Cuba. Yeah, he was a pure guy. He drank rum too much. So, like in every communist country, they get the workers strong alcohol, so they had rum from this sugar, and he drank rum all night. He was so heavily drinking. He was an alcoholist, you know. Yeah, it's sad. There are many young people, they drunk in Cuba rum. So here another picture. They were German hard workers, and they had to stop them. One German man, he was maybe 60, he walked so hard that he collapsed in the heat, and then they said, well, tranquilo, tranquilo, slow down, don't work too hard, we don't want to die somebody here. You know, they worked like Germans do, the old Germans, they work so hard that they don't feel the danger or the pain. So here's another picture. Well, and somehow I was somehow I don't look like a fighter. Sometimes I look like a clown. Here you see me with the finger in my nose. You know, normally if somebody makes pictures, you avoid this, but I didn't care. I gave a damn shit how I was looking. I look like a clown. Nobody would assume that that I I would be a fighter or could fight this torture, though. At that time, when I see me here, I must laugh. I look not like a man. I look more like a clown. Here here it is this celebration day. Yeah, it is. I think it is in Matanzas. You see here black people and Spanish people. They're living together in the same street, and they lived peaceful together. They were not mixing. You didn't saw black and Spanish people couples. They were not mixing, but there were no hate between the races. Maybe the black people were not, they were underprivileged maybe, but there was no hate. We worked together on this building, also black guys, and they had no problem with the Spanish Cuban guys. There was no hate. Here in the morning we went to the work, the German workers walking here down the street, and here this is a museum of you know, this there was an attempt to invade Cuba after the revolution. I don't tease. It was 60, 61, 62. I don't know exactly this bay, and there was a museum. They fight back, and we were all thinking, well, this Cuban army, they were so clever, and Fidel Castro were so clever, and we never ask ourselves how is it possible that a superpower which made the D-Day, the invasion against the German Hitler army, that was quite a hard operation. You know, this Operation Overlord in the Normandy, and America was a superpower, and even it was a bigger superpower in the beginning of the 60s. How is it possible that they didn't uh, made the you know, the how could they be defeated on the beach of this bay? Well, it turned out that there were some people in the American government, members of Skull and Bones, that they said, well, we will not have air support, and the airplanes didn't start, and so it was possible without air support they could be defeated. So there were always members in the American military. I don't know the name. You can see this video. Maybe I put it below. I put this video below. There was a man who decided the planes will not take off, no air support, and so Fidel Castro was able to fight back, and so he stayed in Cuba. Well, it was not normal, you know. Otherwise, it is. Nobody was asking. We all thought, well, this Cuban army, they are so, you know, strong, and they were heroes, and we all believed this shit, this lies they told us. And I didn't know that Fidel Castro was trained by the Resident Order, and that they made this change in Cuba to push the Americans out, the Batista, and to make a sign, a big sign, this Che Guevara picture. It is sold worldwide. You know, this when he's looking sad after funeral was taken. One of his friends was killed or died, and he came from the funeral, and they made this picture, and it was sold worldwide. He was like a martyr. Later he made him to a martyr. Later he was killed in a fight in Bolivia. Well, it was a trap. They made a trap, and it was Klaus Barbie, this man from France who killed so many Jews. He was a man who made this trap for Che Guevara in Bolivia. Yeah, we didn't know this all. We thought, well, Cuba, it is a great country, socialist country, and well, now I will tell you a strange story, a kind of miracle. Maybe you will hate me afterwards. Well, but I have to tell you, I did maybe things that are not so good. You know. Well, okay, I show you. Here's a guy here. He was from Germany. He was a coal miner. I mean, a real coal miner, and a coal miner. Well, I don't want to discuss you, black people. Well, they said that Robert De Niro was a coal miner because he loved black women a lot, and also this guy did. And but he was also a worker of black seam. He was from this rural area. You know, he was a real miner. He went down. He told me he made this job for some years, but then his mine closed. You know, they shut down the black coal here in Germany. This is a real crime. You know, this black coal was so efficient. This brown coal is all shit, but this black coal was saved. It was sure. Nobody was dying in these mines anymore, and now they buy all this coal from China, where all these miners, every year they have so many miners dying there, and because they are so dangerous in China, and we had safe and sure black coal here, and they shut it all down. Well, he was one of the last miners. He loved black women in Cuba, and it is, well, you know, they looking really pretty, and I never had a barrier inside my brain. When I was in kindergarten, I remember a girl. She was, I think her mother was from Africa, and her father was maybe from Germany, or maybe it was the other way around. So she was half German, half African, and well, she was always so fascinating for me, and this brown color. And one day I went with my mother in a shop, and there were dolls, and my mother asked me, which doll you want to have, and this one, the brown one, because this doll reminded me of this girl from kindergarten, and well, my mother had to buy this doll, and I was so happy. I was not carrying all the time like the girls. Well, in my days, the girl, they played with dolls with passion. So their dream was to be a mother, and they played with these dolls quite intense with a passion. But now not anymore, because it is yeah, you know, they say it is sexism, that the girls only play with dolls, and you know, it is. I mean, it is their instinct. It is their nature that they like to play with dolls, but now you can't say it anymore, you know, because it is sexism. So that role fixing, you want to fix this girls into a role, and it is bad. And but in my times, and when I was a boy in the 70s, all my girlfriends in my class, when I visit them at their home, they had all dolls. They had a bath tube for that doll, so that they played to be a real mother. So you know, it was, and they played it with passion. I saw it, and today it is banished. It's banned somehow. You know, they don't want that we multiply. So they tell the girls, well, maybe better you running a marathon, or maybe you want to climb, or you want to you you make sport like a boy. You know, they telling all these girls that they should do sport, and you know, it is well, there's a plan. You know. Well, so I had this doll, this brown doll, and I had no barrier in Cuba. There were black women. It was not easy to, well, you know, so I had to watch them. So even if they had a white dress, they looked so beautiful. I was not chasing them. I never went to them and you know, tried to. I just watched them when they passed by. You know, when sometimes they passed. We were sitting here in the evening, and they passed by, and or in the city. And well, but my colleague from Germany, he was quite well. He was quite. He loved them a lot, and yeah. And one day he said on Saturday, well, maybe you want to come with me, there's a party going on. And well, I went there, and it was a black family, and they invited us, and they made something to eat. And well, friendship in Cuba, it is quite difficult. It is well, they say we are friends, but they asking you also, well, you know, we don't have so much, you have something, shoes, maybe can I have your shoes, or something like that. It was a friendship more for, yeah, you know, it was not a free friendship. It was more that they could maybe get something, to get some advantage of the friendship. So that was a little bit difficult. So I didn't like this meeting so much, because they always wanted something, and I was poor. I couldn't give so much. So, but one day I went with this guy to this black family, and then it was a garden, and they were, I think they have a lot of, they have big families. There were many people, I think 10, 20 people, and then we were there maybe 2, 3 hours, having something to eat. And well, I think we gave something for this eat, yeah, a few dollars. Well, it was time to say goodbye, and you know, then the Cubans, they give 2 kisses, one right, one left, and later they say to me, well, it is so that is just saying hello and goodbye. No more. It has no meaning. It has no meaning. And well, I wasn't aware maybe of this, and there was a black woman, and she looked so sad, and well, maybe I lift her up a little bit, and so I kissed her on the chest, and maybe it was a little bit too intense, and well, I didn't want something, it was just saying goodbye, and I thought, well, maybe I will never see her again, because I don't like to go there every Saturday, because they always were expecting something from you, because they knew that you have more money, you have clothes. They hadn't clothes there in this time, 95. Well, the story was that, well, I took the shoulders and I give a kiss, and then maybe it was too intense, and suddenly this woman lifted up the eyes, and flaring, the eyes were flaring, and then she went down like a stone. She hit the ground, and I was, oh my God, and I jumped, I grabbed her, that she didn't hurt, that the brain is saved, so the landing was somehow, that the brain was not, but she was, all the life went out of the body. She was, I gave the kiss, and I heard something like, ugh, and then like a stone, and I'm sorry, I didn't know that I somehow I'm a gate. The black people, they feel the spirit maybe more. I didn't know that I was gifted somehow, that there was a spirit inside me, that it knocked her out. And this guy, he was watching. What are you doing? What is going on here? He was so amazed. And then I said, oh my God, sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't want this. And then she laid down, and she was like in a coma. She couldn't speak. Her eyes were closed. I don't know. And then her brother and all these relatives, they came, and they said, well, she's okay. You can go. It's okay. And then on the way back home, this German guy, he said, well, what is the matter with you? What is going on? And he was laughing, and I was, why are you laughing? What is if the head is hit the ground, and now her brain is damaged, and maybe she's destroyed? And yeah, you pervert, you destroyed her. He was laughing, making jokes all the time. It was so funny for him, but he was also impressed. He never saw this, and neither I. I never knocked somebody out with a kiss only on the chest. It was amazing. It was somehow, well, I think that the African people, that they feel spirit quite well. They had on Cuba also this African churches, the old Africans, this natural churches, and they worshipping, I don't know what God they have, the God of West Africa. They were brought from West Africa by the Spanish armadas to Cuba, to the Caribbean, and they have still this old gods, and sometimes they were crying, and the men were shouting in this church. It was right beside our place. There was, every time I came from downtown Matanzas to our place, I walked down the street, and I passed this African church, and it was amazing how they cried, and it was they were no Christians. It was a old religion of West Africa. They still have on Cuba, and I hear it well. They have a strong connection with spirit. Well, I was sorry. I was so sorry. I was so frightened that I damaged this woman, and I didn't want anything from her. But it was just to give her a lift, because she looked so depressive. That was special time in Cuba. They lost all their jobs. The black people, they worked into factories, but there were no factories anymore, and so they had no money, and they were poor and they were depressed, and I decided just maybe give her a lift, but it was too much. Well, it was well, you know, maybe you want to know what I did else. Well, okay, you know, I was young, I was foolish, and nobody was waiting for me at home. I would never cheat my wife or my girlfriend. I never would do this, but you know, I was single, and I know it was not in the law of God, but it is not always easy to keep the law of God. And well, you know, one day I had one. You know, I was young, I was foolish, but I felt also it is not right. Just for fun, it is not good. It is better to uh, know somebody before and make a bond, founding a family, having children. This fornication for fun is, I think it is a sin. It is not what God wanted. Uh, it is not what He wants, you know. But it was, you know, the Cubans. It is like in every socialist country. It was. You know, they had sex like we drink water or eat. You know, that was it was everywhere. There was everywhere something going on. Also on the Cuban guys on the construction place, when they saw a woman, then so they were real machos. But in Cuba, the women don't have to be scared. There's no raping. There's no sexual violence. It is all the women are safe there. It is more that there's a lot of prostitution going on because they had a difficult time, you know, and so there was no money, nothing to eat, and the Cubans, they don't have any problems with this. You know, they like sex, and yeah, you know, it is. Well, I had one in the last week, but there were other guys uh, in my troop or brigade. They had every night, and in the neighborhood there were so many women, and I was in comparison to them, I was more like a sheep, you know. I don't want to apologize anything, but you know, they one day there was somebody. He said, "Well, we must have a discussion here. We are here to help the Cubans. We are not here for sex tourism." Then there was a, I don't want to be an asshole, you know. Then a woman, this anarchist woman, "I'm an asshole too. I'm an asshole too. What are you doing here? All these girls in the neighborhood. What are you doing with them?" And you know, there were many men. They were married and they had a wife at home in Germany. And I thought, well, maybe this is not so good. And they had also girls. They could have been their daughters or maybe granddaughters. You know, I don't want to go into detail, but this was not. I don't like to see this. You know, if something happened, but if you are so old and you know they are only doing this because of the money, and so, well, this is not right. This is not right, and there was a big discussion, and they said, well, this has to stop, but they could never stop this. You know, it was not possible. They needed the money, and we or most of the German men, they needed the love because they were very tender and you con corazon, you know, with a heart. And it was not like a hard prostitution, it was more like a friendship. And the friendship was over when they saw this guy has no money anymore, so then the girl disappeared. When they pumped them out totally, then they were looking for another guy from Europe, tourist or whatever. So that friendship was depending on what they could give them, and they like to give them a lot. And some men, some guys, they were out of money after a few weeks, also out of clothes because they also give them their clothes. And I mean there were so wild stories. I can't tell all the stories, but well, you see also it was also this lack in the soul that you know, it is also that in Germany there are so many coldness, and you know this the souls are so dry, and when this man came to Cuba, and this freedom and this women, they were offering love, and it was quite tender also. So where they couldn't resist, because we have so much coldness here in Germany. Also in the 90s it was already. And well, the revolution, the resolution would be to find the way back to God, and then you can keep the law of God, and don't cheat your wife, don't fornicate, you know. And if you have a connection with God, you don't have to, you don't need those horrors anymore, you know. Well, this is maybe the last word, a good word for the end. And well, see you next video.